I'm particularly excited about this next session because I had an opportunity to meet with one of the speakers as he was rehearsing yesterday. And the important thing is that it really connected with me on a level where this is now a startup and sparky aerospace company that is competing with the big boys, and they're using the 3D experience as a way to be able to close that gap. And so I'm really excited to welcome Scott and Obi to the stage. That will be your clicker. Scott just got off a plane, so be nice to him. Please, the stage is yours.
Thanks. Well, I'm going to start up a video with a little bit of a history about Otto Aviation. You're going to see our demonstrator aircraft. It's a pusher prop with a turbo diesel engine on board, and our new aircraft, which is going to be a super mid business jet. So enjoy the video with me, and we'll talk about some of the things we're trying to accomplish. This is the Celery 500, our laminar flow demonstrator vehicle that flew back in 2018, 2019, and proved to me that laminar flow was practical and habitable.
The aviation industry has always been focused on improving safety and efficiency and environmental performance. The environmental performance dimension is becoming even more and more important these days.
Most of the innovation and focus on innovation has been on new fuels, but they're much more expensive. So if you can take an enormous amount of that drag out, reducing the energy that the aircraft requires, then I can use SAF. It's a carbon neutral fuel and consequently does not produce CO2.
This is the Phantom, the new business jet, no windows on the outside. We're going to do all digital windows as well. So you saw a few folks in there. You know, Dennis Muhlenberg, former chairman of the Boeing company, is our chairman. Paul Tao, who co-founded Ariba Software and now part of SAP, is our CEO. And then there's me and Obi. And you can read our backgrounds here, but the most important thing for us to say about why we're together on the stage is I'm the CEO who has to design, build, test, certify, and produce this aircraft. I'm the user. And Obi is our Chief Information and Digital Officer who provides those tools and the expertise around the digital enterprise. And we believe there's a constant struggle between these two folks. So we stand up here on the stage as those two executive champions, me telling my engineers, you have to make the switch, stop using those old tools, use the synergy of Dassault, and Obi showing us the way to do it. That's why we're here together on the stage. My job is to tell you a little bit about the aircraft and what we're doing from a vision standpoint. We are going to lower the energy required for flight. It's that simple. You've seen a lot of folks do that differently. They use different fuels, they use different propulsion means, electric, hydrogen, hybrid, whatever you like. Guess what? Those are all heavier. And if you don't have an aircraft that uses less energy, you will not be able to put those propulsion systems on and still have the same performance. So we focus on laminar flow to reduce the drag using this effect. Using viscous drag in laminar flow as a unit, viscous drag in turbulent flow is 5x. And then if you think about space, there's 0 viscous drag. So that's the goal, a 5x reduction in drag. Now let's look at what that does on an aircraft. When you take out 35% of the drag, which is about where we're hitting right now for our aircraft, you start to realize you need the same amount less in payload for fuel. You need smaller engines because your thrust is lower. You need less structure to carry around less fuel and smaller engines, and that wonderful virtuous cycle kicks in for less fuel burn and less emissions to the tune of 61%. Less energy for flight. That's Jet A. So if I put SAF in these engines, that 61% number is going to go down to 91% or up to 91% improvement. And then you'll say, well, but SAF's too expensive, Scott. And you're right, it is for aircraft today. But the other effect that lower drag has is it makes that aircraft smaller. So we're coming in at a gross weight that's half of the typical super mids that are out there. And it's because your part counts go down, you use the right composites, and suddenly now your costs are 51%, 52% lower, and now I've given you a green discount instead of a green premium. And how we get it done is we do advanced simulation and net shape composites that weren't always available in the past, and they are now. You see this technology in all the simulation spaces, and Obi runs that platform for us. And net shape composites means, well, it comes out of the tool intentionally how you wanted it. So it's not wavy, the parts fit together, there's no steps and gaps. You say, oh, well, don't they all do that? Or some people also say, nobody does that. Well, they do. Stealth aircraft do it for the same reason. They just don't want to be seen. Well, I don't want to be seen either. I don't want to be seen by the air. You can watch me and hit me on radar all you want, but I want us to disappear to the air, just like those stealth aircraft disappeared to radar. And we're starting from a clean sheet, and that's, I'm going to transition after this, but that's the part that I want to bring to this audience. I believe that your design thinking is always wrong unless you get closer and closer to a clean sheet. So people often ask us, why hasn't Cessna, Bombardier, Embraer, and everybody else done this, and why aren't they going to beat you to it? Because when they start their thinking process, it's not on a clean sheet. It's on, let's extend for 2% range. Oh, I can just use the old wing that I had on that aircraft and plug it onto that old fuselage, and I got my 2%. That's not clean sheet design thinking. If you use the tools that Obi is providing for us with a clean sheet design thinking philosophy, you can hit all those synergies that the group is talking about, and you can come up with an aircraft that changes the energy required for flight, lowers the energy required for flight. So that first representative picture is our digital enterprise. How do we get just everything from design all the way to services inside our digital enterprise, that full product life cycle that previous gentleman talked about. Deterministic assembly is the second picture. It has to come together intentionally, and you won't make anything intentionally unless you know what it did on every step of the design, build, servicing, and maintenance phase. That allows us to then think differently about the leading edges, the design features. Again, that design thinking from a clean sheet. Conformal antennas, coatings to protect the laminar flow, and then a special finishing process to make sure that you design in the laminar flow, build in the laminar flow, and keep it in. So I think this is a great point to transition to Obi's section, where he talks about the digital enterprise that allows all this to happen and give us that chance at the right design thinking process.
Thank you, Scott. He's smooth, isn't he? So Scott talked about the tools that my organization is going to provide to help us enable and build out this aircraft. I want to say at this point a big thank you to 3DXEXPERIENCE, Dassault Systems. It's really the tools that ENOVIA, the platform, provides us that enables us build this aircraft. So we want to talk about 3DEXPERIENCE at Otto Aviation. So if I click through, like I said, all thanks to ENOVIA. So the current suite of applications that we're leveraging at ENOVIA, at Otto Aviation, first enables us to really establish what we call our digital first philosophy. I'm going to click through the next set of bullets here, but I want to pause for a second on this particular comment. Digital first philosophy, I mean, we talk about digital transformation, digital mindset, digital twin, digital virtual twin, a lot of phrases being used. But for us, really, we live the digital first philosophy. What that means, clean sheet design. For us, we're not saddled by legacy systems. We're getting to build the first clean sheet airplane in about 25 years since first iPhone 1 or before. So really for us, it's not a digital transformation. It is, we're thinking digital first. We have a clean sheet. We don't have legacy systems except those that are being brought in. I'll talk about that in the next couple of bullets by our staff from prior experiences. But really leaning into our digital first philosophy enables us to now become a fully digital enterprise. On that path, we have to overcome some of these challenges. Like I talk about user transition challenges where we're hiring, we're in a growth stage, We're not going to hire all new grads that have no experience. We're bringing experts from other companies with their suite of experiences. But along with those experiences come the baggage and the learned traits, some good, some not so good, working with other solutions. So we have to work. We have to think forward about how do we get ahead of the user transition challenges that really get in the way of establishing this digital enterprise. Well, we're working through those, and with his support, like he talked about, he runs our operations. I head our digital organization and our information technology. We collaborate to ensure that our staff really are driven and supported by leadership to really adopt the changes and the philosophy that we are putting out for the organization. With that, we're able to really establish, that's everybody's goal. You want to have a single source of truth, right? So one, we have a philosophy that we abide and we live by. Two, it enables us to establish a fully digital enterprise. Three, we start to overcome transition challenges. And four, we now establish that single source of truth. Finally, that lets us get to the point of really accelerating our product design and certification. That's really, as an executive and maybe as a vision, we want to quickly get to product development and certification of our airplane. So what I want to do here is maybe show you just a running list of ENOVIA applications that we have currently deployed in our ecosystem. So across design and also in collaboration space. This is a non-exhaustive list of all the applications that we have. We have quite a few others in proof of concept stage where we're working with some of our Dassault counterparts. Go engineer, I know Dan Smith is here somewhere. Working with our design teams, our engineering teams, our manufacturing counterparts to really run through proofs of concept in concert with our overarching vision for our digital enterprise. So on the next slide, I'm just going to play through a couple of videos really documented from our staff using our functional teams using some of these applications. Videos are about a minute and a half long. Where I can, I'll talk through some of them, but to show you we're living our philosophy and establishing our digital enterprise. So this first video shows our design applications in use. So when the design is complete, we're still going through design changes. Using CATIA product design applications, we finished the design. Now we can get into a design review, leveraging the design review app. This really allows collaboration where our engineers can conduct, he talked about parts fitting. You build something, you have to test that it does fit together. We can run interference checks, they run an interference probe. You find an issue, now what comes in? Well, we can actually continue to leverage the platform upon identifying where there are potential interferences to create an issue. Well, you mark it up using there's a 3D markup widget that is part of the ENOVIA suite of applications. Mark up where the interference has been identified. Now, I know I'm getting super tactical and really in the weeds of how we use this, but really this is a show and tell, right? It's how do we leverage the tool. 3D markup, now you can actually append and create an issue, right, with the identified location tagged to it, create the issue, mark the pylon assembly where you have this specific interference problem, create the issue in an issue based on the markup, and maybe I'm going a little bit faster than the video. And then you can assign the video, save it, the issue, save it. With the issue management app, that allows you to administratively track the progress on that issue. They can review, see what the particular problem is, go through, and you can track resolution of the problem through again, using that issue management widget and the review widget. So our team is living the applications, the solutions on a daily basis from the engineering side. Not only are they designing, they're reviewing, they're collaboratively solving problems and working through our design concepts and just making sure that we're leveraging the full suite of capabilities and benefits of working in CATIA and all the other associated apps. So in the next video, I will kind of walk you through a little, less, I'm an engineer, so I bias towards, building and designing and doing things, but there's a collaboration, there's actual business of running an organization and managing a product or product life cycle. So our collaboration applications, I'm going to play through another video that kind of shows you how our teams use the solutions and applications that are embedded here. So one more click to start. There we go. So first, I'll say first of all that about 85% of our employees use the 3DX platform on a daily basis. They start their day with a Kanban board. What does my day look like? What's my to-dos? What's open? And then we can get into Product Explore when you've really necked down the issue that you want to work on that day. And you would forgive us, we did blur out the wings. That is some of our IP there. 3D markup, yet again, you can go in to identify where the issues are have been identified, where there's an interference. Now, this individual is drilling down into a particular issue that has been assigned to them, right? So it's been handed off, and they're working it within the application. And, you can get a summary of the issue, get some analytics at a higher level, change management. Well, the issue maybe requires a change to resolve it. We also leverage the fact that you can have custom routing for change processes, for change management and approvals. So we can go in there and as well create those custom routings. Who needs to look at an issue to approve it and mark it as closed? And so a couple of other applications that they get into, the bookmark editor. These are all collaborative tools that allow our employees to know where they are in the process. 3D Drive, I think you're all very familiar with that. You share, you upload, you save, store information, making it readily available to your teammates and your counterparts to pull the data out. So I'll stop this 3D Swim community. Again, we're leaning in heavily into using this application. Again, wrapping our entire organization from concept through the manufacturing of an aircraft component or the assembly of it, really living the idea of a 3D environment. Of course, Project Gantt, we can manage projects, your basic, Gantt charts, see where you are in status. So all the way from our aerodynamicists to our propulsion engineers to even our project managers, right? Everyone is within this platform using 3DX and ENOVIA. And of course, we can bubble up analytics results that allow, whether it's senior managers in my organization to roll up some information, allows me to share some knowledge across the board with my counterparts, Scott, and maybe our CEO on the board. So I'll stop the video here on supplier collaboration. So I don't have a video for this one. We are still in the process of onboarding. I mentioned quite a few that we have quite a number of POCs in the work. We are still establishing our partnerships with our major suppliers. So it's schedule driven, where we have a digital strategy roadmap, so to speak, that really leverages our IMS, our integrated master schedule, to determine, well, when are we bringing certain capabilities online, right? We're not just buying software, right? It is tied to our digital roadmap. So one specific example is that we're at the point where we're making this partnership contracts, our major suppliers are being identified, and there's a need to exchange information with them. So we're building and leveraging starting off our 3D experience supplier collaboration POC, and even in the mindset of trying to prep the teams from our supply chain and procurement team to our engineering team, to our manufacturing, any business unit within our company that requires access to the supply collaboration team tool, they're already working with individuals from my organization to establish requirements. So we're gathering requirements. That process alone is even beginning to net benefits for us. Why do I say that? Because they're thinking ahead, right? They're not just executing procurement, working with suppliers in a vacuum. They're thinking about how can we work with our suppliers in this environment, because they're already using it for all the other things that I talked about. So we're beginning to see benefits. Ongoing project is yielding some of these. Maybe I wouldn't go through every single one of them, but there are 8 specific things. If I can double click, if I had more time here, think about CATIA V6 models. We have to transfer large step files, across the universe, the digital universe, and share files. Did you get it? But then that has its own issues. But with this supply collaboration tool, large data transfer capability is opened up to us. Unified data and communications, real-time issue tracking and change management. We're seeing continuous improvement and traceability across the board. But again, you might ask, well, how are we doing this? Because we don't have it implemented already. Like I said, our teams are already leaning forward, thinking about the requirements that they're providing to my organization as we prepare to execute this POC. So so that's one that we have on top. We have MES Aprizo. That's an on-prem solution. We're also on board in that solution, and it's also helping our teams recognize where the potential to really adopt and how they can use 3DX to really get prepared for it. So on the next slide, impact metrics, industry benchmark targets, as an extraneous S up there. But I would say we're still, I wouldn't say in the early stages. We have to move at pace. We have an aircraft to build. At the same time, we have an organizational vision to bring to life. So how do you bring a vision to life? You don't just say words. You don't just say things to your staff and say, this is our company vision. Well, for me as a leader, I give them metrics. I give target metrics. But if we don't already have something, what do we compare against, right? So what we did as an organization is we went out and surveyed, and with the support from our partners at Dassault and Go Engineer, pulled together industry metrics. Again, by leveraging ENOVIA, we are driving measurable, yada, yada, yada. But the point is, I don't just want to say, listen, we have this vision to improve this, improve that, reduce this, reduce that. We want specific numbers, right, that could be targets for our company. So we pulled this information we're looking at, and this is me now trying to set goals, measurable goals for my organization that we can use as a company. Now, my colleagues on our ELT will hold me accountable to these metrics. But you might ask, well, 55% reduction or faster data retrieval against what, right? Well, that's where maybe I kind of, it gets a little fungible, right? I can play with the math there because I don't have something for them to compare against. But these are hard numbers that we can take a look back and say, how are we progressing? And I think this is the laser. So 54% faster data retrieval, that is a goal of ours. 41 across the board, right, when you compare against industry. We want to reduce overhead in engineering change administration. We definitely want to streamline execution of our engineering changes and engineering change processes. Let me pause on this real quick. This is actually a current lived experience, right? We're designing an airplane. We're finding maybe some design changes that need to be implemented, but at the same time, we need to establish a process, right, for controlling that. I know already intrinsically that there are implicit problems with the way we currently do that, but as my engineering team is thinking through the process for this, I can already see them making decisions to introduce efficiency in the way we process engineering changes and engineering release, by the way. We want to lower the error correction costs associated with issues with our BOM. Definitely everybody wants to reduce design errors. We want to have productivity gains from engineering changes. So one, you streamline how you execute it, and then that gives you productivity gains. We definitely want to implement lean manufacturing and shorten assembly file load times. Remember the issue with data transfer and CATIA models and all those things. So these are targets that internally we're setting based on what we're seeing going across the industry. That's from all of you guys. So it's not just data that we randomly pulled out. It's what we're seeing from the users and the industry. Looking ahead, well, random guy from the internet. So at Otto Aviation, right, so I've talked about, okay, so maybe take a step back. Scott talked about, he's our Chief Operations Officer and the President. He runs our design, our engineering, manufacturing, quality, operations, supply chain, all fall under him. So think about his organization as the folks that really have the physical assets, the business process assets, everything that is wrapped around building an airplane. My organization is an information and digital technology organization. where my role is to establish this digital enterprise. What's missing to really have a virtual twin of physical assets and business processes is really that data connectivity. So for us, the next important step in the growth, so to speak, of my organization and our company as a whole is establishing an end-to-end data platform. And I was really excited to see that this conference was ENOVIA in concert with NetVibes, because we're in conversation with some of the folks from NetVibes to evaluate that platform to really help us bridge the gap between the physical assets over here from the engineering and manufacturing side, and then the digital assets that we have in my information technology organization to really make that digital trend come to life. So that's something that's a strong consideration and really the next major step for us beyond the POCs that we're running. And then some more tactical applications. I already talked about some POCs that we have on board, but definitely configuration management, quality management. We talked about APQP today with someone, and then compliance management.
First of all, I think that was very inspiring. By the way, I'm Sachin from Amgen. I am almost jealous of what you're able to do here, the fact that you're starting from a clean slate, because I think all the other speakers today spoke of the same thing, is the challenges of changing an existing culture, right? So my question is a bit of a long one, so I'm going to read it off my phone. But how are you identifying what the right tools are within the 3DX platform to achieve business processes that you haven't started doing yet? And as a follow-up to that, do you extensively prototype and do POCs to make sure you get the solution and approach right? Because you're on a critical path. If you get it wrong, that directly impacts your bottom line, right?
So I think that question is definitely mine. Great question, by the way. How are you determining what solutions from the ecosystem of 3DEXPERIENCE and Dassault systems to onboard when we maybe don't have a process in place for that particular requirement? So maybe one step back, Scott and I have this pact where we agreed, not just agreed, we think that the best approach as a vision for our company is we are all fully leaned into 3DEXPERIENCE as our platform of choice. So the first thing that we do is we put the burden of proof on our business unit, our functional team that wants to meet a particular requirement. So the burden of proof is on them to demonstrate that the alternative solution within 3DEXPERIENCE is not going to meet their requirement, right? So that's step one. So maybe to say that in a different way is we start from 3DEXPERIENCE right? So first of all, tell me what your requirement is, even though it may not be there, but they're industry standards. Nothing we're doing is new under the sun except bring laminar flow to life, right? But yes, it's tell us your requirement, let us lay out the capabilities within 3DEXPERIENCE, and let you know how we can satisfy that requirement, and then we establish and run a POC with you. But if, of course, we're not going to force an engineer absolutely to say this is the one that you must use, but our first approach is let us give it a full, honest assessment. We really are committed to making sure that we evaluate the capability. It's not always the best. I think you guys here know this. Solution A in 3DEXPERIENCE might not be number one industry-wide. There might be that one standalone thing out there, but we're playing the long game, right? That's why our presentation is called From Silos to Synergy. So you might pay a little bit of a premium right there when you pick this 3DX solution, but as you build the ecosystem with sister applications, we're going to leverage the power of that synergy. And from a leadership perspective, we see that ROI down the road. The engineer might complain a little bit, but the burden of proof is on them to show that 3DEXPERIENCE solution is miles away from what they want, and then maybe we go to our next level, which I won't share with you here. So
it sounds like a short-term pain for long-term gain, right? That's
yes,
kind of the...
yes, thank you.